I'm Jacintha Batchelor. I'm a carer in New South Wales. I've been a carer with Life Without Barriers since March 2009. Initially, we provided emergency, short-term, long-term, everything. All we have right now is long-term care to the same sibling group since March 2009. And we do respite. Yeah, respite care is where the primary carers have another carer who might look after their children for a short time. That might be one weekend a month or a week or so in the school holidays, or from time to time, depending on the needs of the child. But we always knew our family would include foster kids, and especially since my in-laws in the UK became foster parents in the early 80s when we were in our late teens, and they had many children over the years coming in and out of their lives, and that kind of inspired us to do that. It was always something that was going to be in our plan. Just took a long time for us to decide that we were definitely going to do it. It was about 7 years from the time we thought about it, the time we actually took the leap. And I'd say to anybody, take as much time as you need to make this very, very important decision and take this journey, because it's a process, and the process itself can be many months for very good reason. And it also gives you as a potential carer the opportunity to reflect on what type of care you'd like to offer. So yeah, make the decision to investigate foster care, but it doesn't necessarily mean you'll become a foster carer in 3 months. I say as a minimum, maybe 4 months. Standard might be about 6 months. In addition to that, you'd allow for the fact that life happens in between your intention to become a carer and the actual registration process and approval. So if there's a point throughout your assessment journey where you need to stop, or the training opportunities don't match up with what's happening in your life, then you can call a halt. So it could take a couple of years, but that will be led by yourself and what you need, because we want it to be a successful and long and happy relationship. We had actually said that we were more than happy to take on a child with additional needs and complex, and we actually did some respite care prior to our sibling group coming to us, and we had a long transition to get to know this young lady, and she had some significant supports that we needed to make sure that we could offer in our home, and we did a lot of transitional work in her home for her to get to know us while we were still going through the final bit of assessment. So we weren't carers, but we were putting in some extra visits because we'd potentially been matched with this young lady, with a view to her coming to see us on a once a month for one night, I think her respite arrangements were. And we did that quite successfully for a couple of months, but then an emergency placement came along and we needed to offer support to these guys full time, 24/7. And I tried to do both, because you think you're superhuman and can do everything, and you find out pretty early on that you're not doing yourself any good, and you're probably not helping those children by trying to be everything to everybody. So we found an alternative respite carer for this young lady. We have two who have left teenagehood and moved into adulthood, and one late teens and one middle teens. It brought in a whole new level of emotions, and I often find myself reflecting on one of our lads who the layers of onions started to unpeel as puberty kicked in. And as I say, just when you think you've found that happy medium, hormones kick in and things kick off. And you have those what the hell moments. You think, oh God, that was a big day. Yeah, and you try and have a bit of a sense of humour about it, but some of the emotions and some of the outbursts, if you like, were overwhelming at times. And that's when we sought help through our case manager, but also outside with counselling and getting supports, because you can't do it all by yourself. Well, day to day, it would be the kids case manager. We have ongoing training, of course. You can select to do both online and in person. We have carer conferences where you get to meet other carers. We have supports for the kids in the form of picnics and annual Christmas parties. On a more formal basis, we've got the Employee Assistance Program, where we can go, as indeed the members of staff from Life Without Barriers go, to have access to counselling and some guidance when things are getting a bit tough. Yeah, but our main day-to-day person would be our case manager, and then the kids clinicians. They will talk to us too, because we're part of the team that will help that child. And if we get in the support we need, that means we're in a fitter state to actually support the child that's going through the tough stuff, because it's not about us, but sometimes when you're feeling a bit crappy, it tends to be about you for that moment. But you need to ask for help and know that you're going to get help as well, and that's what's been our experience with Life Without Barriers for sure. Absolutely, I'd like to see tons more of it. We have some morning teas. I'd like to see picnics. I'd like to see, anyone who knows me knows I bang on about carer camps and respite camps, the whole family going, not sending the kids one direction. Let's do the whole thing together. Let's have a holistic approach to having a break where the kids get to have fun, the carers get to have fun, and there's an opportunity for learning and growth, be it counselling or a workshop. One weekend respite with siblings, 2 boys. They were 5 and 3, and that was a Friday to a Sunday. The primary foster carer dropped them off on Friday afternoon. We had a chat. She was clearly an experienced carer, fabulous. And I learned a lot from her, actually, just from the interactions we had. You kind of think you've got everything ready, and then you don't. So you just go with the flow and hope for the best. We tried to do far too much in the first weekend. We tried to be too entertaining, too much organised, and you want to keep the children entertained. But I think we were too worried about having a whole programme of entertainment for that weekend. Whereas, as I've learned over the years, is that it might just need to be a really soft landing spot and just a chill out weekend. You don't have to be the fun aunt and uncle, although I have much respect for all the fun aunts and uncles out there. But when we dropped them back home on the Sunday, it was exhausting. You hadn't realised how switched on you were for the whole week, because you wanted to do a good job and you wanted them to have the best time and you wanted them to want to come back again. Obviously, get the rooms ready, the practical stuff, get the rooms ready, and don't expect to have to do too much. If they like pizza, it's pizza night, pyjamas on, and a movie if they want, or games, cards, board games, something like that. At the very least, maybe just walk to the park on the Saturday if it's a weekend. Have a rough idea of what their likes and dislikes are as far as food. Chat to the other carer about what might trigger the child, the do's and don'ts, just to keep that child feeling comfortable. And one thing that I thought was handy was another more experienced carer actually did for me when our kids were going to respite, was asked for a photograph of me with the children to put on their bedside for a while they were at our place. And I thought that was a lovely touch and something I hadn't thought of. Yeah, most recently, eldest boy started joining the army and living his best life. The next girl in line got an internship and has negotiated an extension of that traineeship program by herself. She always was quite feisty and could talk for herself, but I'm so impressed that she does it in the workplace as well as in the home. The youngest lad is now at uni, year 2 of a double degree, and the youngest girl just won bronze medal in 10-pin bowling for the inclusive sports. So yeah, I've got lots and lots of proud moments throughout the years, but the most recent ones, I have to say. And I suppose to include our birth son, who's like the third parent, the fact that he's still the sounding board for our kids, when they still in touch with him, sometimes the younger ones especially, almost daily on the phone to him, and they'll ask him advice. I actually do listen to my husband's opinion a bit more. He might not agree if he sees this, but we have learned, I've learned that one, I can't do everything and I shouldn't want to do everything. I let him parent because I am the controlling nature and I want to do everything, because if I'm not doing it then I'm failing. But I do call upon him more and listen to his point of view more, and of late let him deal with some of the conflicts where I'd be the one trying to get everything all fine and dandy. I've tried to sit back and let someone else take the reins of that. That's been hard for me because I do want to do everything. It's taken me a while, but I have learned to listen to other people. And, realising that you're not being judged all the time. You feel like if you make one mistake, you're being judged. And that's not the case. We all know we're doing our best. We go with the best of intentions. Yeah, not to take ourselves and our role as seriously as we might have done right at the beginning. We still feel it's a very important role, of course, but just go a bit easier on ourselves and not treat ourselves so harshly. Obviously, the kids came to us when they were quite young, like 5, 4 and 3, and the various challenges, the practical challenges of that many children ready for school in the morning, just day-to-day stuff. But then as they grew and developed and it became they were staying with us for good and they became more comfortable, then some of the behaviours came out, and then it was only upon reflection, well, that's because they're comfortable with us. The counsellor say, well, you're the safest space, and sometimes it's hard to be the safest space because you get all the big emotions, and so you seek help and seek guidance and seek a therapist. So the challenges from that were the emotions and managing those big emotions. And maybe you're not trained in that, because you can't be trained in advance for everything. So it's learning how you manage those. And then another challenge would be with family contact. Not to go into huge detail, but we're vastly different in the terms of our parenting. And the challenge would be to respond to that in a respectful manner while also putting your own opinion across respectfully. And accepting that there are differences. That takes a lot of patience. We learn to navigate and take guidance from our case manager and therapists and how we navigate those difficult situations while keeping the kids happy. I wanted family time to be a positive and enjoyable experience. So the challenge was knowing when to step in and when to just be quiet and let it go. A care ambassador is usually an experienced carer who has the ability to talk to people in community, at events, conferences, just advocating the great job that carers do and speaking to potential carers in the good, the bad and the ugly of what caring is, and be the face of carers for Life Without Barriers. I'm proud to say I was the first National Care Ambassador from 2018. Now I'm also New South Wales Care Ambassador until we find some more faces, which is fantastic that more people are coming on board. So for my part, I attend online information sessions and shared stories for the New South Wales team. I might speak at workshops and meetings that the carer support teams within Life Without Barriers are having, both state-based and nationwide. And I might do really, really fun things like go to air shows and have a stand and just talk to the general public about what it's like to be a carer. Have you ever considered being a carer? What the types of care are? And I'm still surprised that, because I know what types of care there are, but there's so many people in the community that don't know what foster care is. And I'm more than happy to explain that to potential carers. I'm also mindful of investing time at community events where, on the face of it, these people may not look like the type of people who may be ready for fostering right now, but it's also getting Life Without Barriers brand and knowledge and be seen, be quite visible at events, be it local, state or national. And it's an investment for the future to see that although fostering may not be right for their family right now, they'll remember our name in the future. So that's what I do. I talk about who I am, what I've been doing and what I hope to achieve, and that's more carers. I think the ones that I've always wanted to do that, or not necessarily that they've had a lived experience, but they say, I remember an aunt of ours or a neighbour was a foster carer. I think the ones I'm drawn to are the ones who've had a positive experience. I like that sort of, it's kind of a natural progression for this person that I'm talking to. Oh yeah, I'd love to do it, and I know I'm not ready now. And I love the fact that they're also aware that they're not ready right now. That's brilliant. I also love to challenge the idea of people say, oh, I couldn't give them back. And yeah, I get that. The first year when my guys came to live with me, that was my worst nightmare. But then it's not about us. And I have to think, well, if it's decided that it's in the best interest of that child to go back to their birth family, then it's not your role to decide that. All you do is provide a safe space for that child while they're in your care and trust that where they go to next is going to be the best place for them. So I like to challenge that notion, I couldn't possibly hand them back, talk people through. There's plenty more children who will come into care who need your care. So you take a break and you move forward. I do enjoy talking to older adults about the possibilities and breaking that idea that you need to be young, because now my kids are teenagers and I've seen how important it is to keep the kids in school for as long as possible and nurture them and mentor them into adulthood. And I've seen how important that is. So being a constant and a positive role model. And we've got a huge population of people who are semi-retired, who have a wealth of knowledge and care and could guide some young people and just have the patience and the ability to help them achieve their dreams, whether that's getting a job or going into more education. So yeah, I like to talk to people and break the idea that there's one particular type of foster care and tell them all the different ways that they can help. One of the things that I am quite passionate about is that carers and care ambassadors are considered part of the staff, part of the team, and not seen separately. I think as a care ambassador, being a foster carer too and living it is really important. And people, when I say I'm care ambassador, but I'm also a foster carer, oh, okay, I can talk to you now because you do know what you get the impression that you do know what you're talking about. So yeah, I think that's very important. It can be a small hourly commitment on a week by week basis, but it could grow into something bigger. And obviously it would be important to stress that it can't interfere with your caring role. So you only do what you can, basically.